Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and it's an exciting day in the 20,000 bricks under the sea cabinet because we are finally going to be reuniting all of the constituent parts that we've been building over the recent weeks and months together to complete the second level of 4 in our undersea cabinet, the first undersea level. So we've got the biscuit here with its perilously held up submarine at the very top right. The rest of the base that had an incident already, along with the lab and the crab scene and all the rest of it that are already waiting in there. So we've also got some new stuff to go in, some interesting scenes that will be visible from the side of the cabinet. So yeah, let's get started. Well, we start as ever with your subscriber amendments. And the majority of you, looking at the last video, decided that what I'd done up here in the top right wasn't good enough. Basically, I had the transparent bricks that were supporting the submarine being very visible and all the kelp kind of spread out behind the submarine rather than creating the impression of motion by having it kind of pushing through them. And indeed, those pieces could be used to disguise the clear bricks as well. And do you know what? I had all of that in my mind when I was doing it last time, except for the fact that it was a long session. I was kind of rushing at the end to get the video all done in time for release, and I just threw it all together. I really should have spent a lot more time, as I have done now, in positioning them so it's kind of pushing through those kelp seaweed pieces. And wow, you really can't see the clear bricks half as much as you could last time. So I think that is a really good amendment, and thank goodness I've done it a second time and made a better job of it this time. That looks really good. So I think we're happy with that now. There were some more suggestions. One was that if we're going to have this bay clear, why not have a couple of things on the sort of slipway? So I just moved a crab from the rock face that was just down there and basically replaced where he was with a few more of the seaweed pieces, so he's just having a bit of a walk on there. I hope he moves before the submarine comes back or he'll get squished. I might even put a diver on there as well because I kind of like the look of Robin on the end of this one, so that was a good idea. One that I did, one of mine, was just to get rid of those coral pieces. I raided a package that's for a future brick haul to get the bright yellow orange pieces out so it looked more in contrast with the other side of the rock where I did have enough, so that was good. I added gold coins to the treasure scene, which you really can't see unless you totally peer around corners, but you might be able to see there's some coins outside the corner cave there. Oh, it's very hard to show you, but anyway, believe it or not, they are there. So that was a good suggestion. Then we've got Morris, the very rare black sawfish, who's attached to a beam here. And I kind of like him down here because he's black and he's hard to sort of see against a lot of backdrops, so having him against the sand level looks really good. There is another sawfish up here, so maybe I'll swap him for a shark. Talking to sharks, I added another one here on just a clear bar piece, like he swam through the valley and has just come across the new base, so I think that looks very dynamic indeed. Somebody suggested that I add more fish to this scene, and I decided to mount one nose on. So basically I've got one of those 1x1 round connectors with the bar on it, or tiles with a bar, and poke that from his nose into the hole of the seaweed. So that gives a slightly different angle and looks quite natural if you ask me. So I think that's really good as well. And I've got a few more ideas to have just single fish on bars. So, you know, I can attach them to lots and lots of connection points because, I mean, there's Technic holes on these engines, on these tanks, even all the way along these sort of gantry bits. So, well, I'm going to wait till I've got the rest of the base in, but I could attach a lot of fish like that. So you've just got one kind of hovering in midair. So, yeah, I think that would be really good. Cool. Right. So if one of those was your amendment, here is your bedoing. But I think the first thing to do now is to probably temporarily remove this so we can lift the whole biscuit as it currently stands into the cabinet, get it all reconnected, and then we can set about attaching parts of the old base. But there are a few changes I want to make along the way as well. Oh my word, is this the most impressive thing I've ever done? I don't know, but it's pretty impressive. Let's have a closer look at the new bit in situ, and I have absolutely nailed the dimensions of the backdrop and the dimensions of the rock. I wanted it kind of overlapping a little bit all the way up, and that's what I've got. Looking great. Oh yes, and you can even see that sort of hole in the rock just hidden a little bit by the kelp. Yes. I mean, way back when this cabinet was only a dream, I was collaborating with one of my wonderful subscribers on creating this backdrop for the back of the cabinet, and I put in some rough dimensions that I wanted for the shape of this rock, and well, I got them right because we reflected it accurately in the picture, and it's exactly what my original plan was, so I'm so happy. And it's great that we're using the full height, because if you look at the top of this submarine, he's only a little bit off the surface of the water. In fact, the keel from this sailboat is only a few brick height above the top of him. If he wasn't careful, he might get hit by one of these larger vessels from the top. So yeah, he better be careful. But going through all those interesting bits of plant life really uses up some of the space and makes it super interesting. Oh, wow. So that's great, but we're nowhere near done. First of all, I want to fill in all of this gap. I've taken out all of the pieces in this sort of a removable section just so I could get this in, but now I can finally put them in for the last time. I've also got my third submarine, which originally was going to be in dock here, but I don't know if that looks a bit too samey with the one that's in dock at the front. So what I figured was I'd probably swap out the Technic connection sort of doorway for another one of the window ones, so it can be kind of not docked, and I can either have it in the process of being docked with some amber lights, because I've got red lights above the one that's in use and green lights above the one that's vacant, or I can just have it, you know, out and about doing something completely different, or even on a different level of the cabinet. So I think I'm going to swap that window while I've got access. Then I can start adding on all of the base pieces to the rock level, hopefully all the spacing's right, link that up with the main tower, and then we can add some new bits onto our base that, well, you haven't seen before. Oh! Okay, so there's the glasswork applied to bay number 1, which means we can have the boring submarine being loaded or out and about. Not boring because it's dull, boring because it's got the boring tool as its main arm. So that's bores, and of course we've got jaws and saws at the top. So yeah, they are very good, but dun dun dun, hey, starting to come together, isn't it? Wow, with the top back part of the base in place. It is teetering forward just a little bit at the moment, just because it doesn't have this sort of main column holding it up at the moment. So it's just supported by those 3 feet on the rock faces. And we've created a really cool sort of tunnel, actually, that hammerhead shark is swimming through in between all the legs and the base. We've lost a little bit of the outline of that rock backdrop that I was talking about before, so it's not quite as perfect now, but the fact you have to kind of look around it and see that, I always like the idea of you don't see everything from the first angle you look at it. Wow though, this is going to be really good, isn't it? Looking fantastic. I've got my great big plant at the back that some of you like, some of you don't like. I'm just using it as a placeholder because, well, we're still going to have, when I've moved this, some quite big gaps all along here. There's a great big sort of line and there's quite a big area here, and if we want this cabinet to be proper Robin Hood bricks, then it will need to be packed and stacked throughout. So you know, more needs to be added in due course, but that's why I don't add all the tiny details of little bits of rock and little bits of sand, which I will do in all the gaps until I've got the bigger things all sorted. So really we need a sort of relatively small idea for there and a relatively medium-sized idea for there. It could just be more creatures, more plants, patches of fish, who knows? But yeah, I'm sure we'll get there in the long run. So yeah, looking great. Let's continue on with this, get the main column in, and then we can have our new bit. Okay, so there's the next section in. Ho ho ho! And it's really starting to come together now, isn't it? Wow. Now this is arguably my favourite section. the one that's turned 45 degrees. Quite a simple kind of scheme in a way, but a very satisfying one, having an octagon lined up with another octagon, but staggered in that way. So we've got these modules pointing off on the diagonals. Yeah, that's really good. And then we've got the spider-like robot arms in the gaps between them, directly above each of the submarines, guiding them into their respective bays. So that's really nice. And then we've got another window here with some more fish kind of attached to the edge of the base. So it looks even more in keeping with the rest of the cabinet and very interesting. Now, we are blocking a lot more of our backdrop, of course, and we're going to keep doing that. And we knew that was going to be the case as well. But we can still see our lovely hammerhead shark going through the, well, kind of tunnel now, I suppose. And he's going to have to change direction sooner or later, or he'll bump right into that column of base, denting his hammerhead. And we can also see on this side all of the fish and coral and kelp and all the rest of it. So I still think it works very well. And wow, it's really got a lot of scale, because that submarine that looked very perched high up looks only just above the top of the station now. And I've started adding those fish on the bar pieces. And here's one kind of seemingly hovering in midair, this blue fish here. And he's got that clear bar sticking out of his mouth into a Technic piece into the underside of the base. And I think that looks really effective. I mean, from any distance at all, you can't really see the bar. And it kind of looks like magic, like he's hovering there. So I think I'll do quite a few more of those in weeks to come. But that's good for now. And the other big amendment that's actually going to be on the next level up is a whole new section of base. And it is this. I got the big pieces, the yellow pieces here on a recent-ish brick haul. And they were to make a new section, actually as a suggestion, to have a scene that's visible from this side of the cabinet. On this side, of course, we've got the secret lab that's at the end of the sea tunnel being visible from the outside of the cabinet through the side glass, and we wanted a scene on this side, but we have got the chest of drawers here, so it needed to be high up, and that's why it's on this top level. So this scene will be visible when attached to the next level up like that, and you'll be able to see in through the side glass. Now in this scene I've kind of tried to make it as open as possible, and we've got this scientist who's looking a bit grumpy, actually, for being disturbed. Maybe he has had his concentration broken by us looking in. And he's got his computer there with pictures of fish that he took when he was diving on his undersea camera. And then he's got a map board there, and he's working out where he saw what. And in the backdrop there, you might be able to make out there's lots of oxygen bottles, big red bottles that I had loads of from buying multiples of this set. To be refilled for future use, presumably. So that will go there. Absolutely perfect, almost like I planned it. And then the rest of the base will be finished, I think. Though, if I do need to raise this up just one more brick, I have got enough round 2x2 black bricks to do that on each of these many legs, 2-3 along the back, kind of 5 or so down here, but no more. So hopefully I've done all of my measurements perfectly. Wow, it's really coming together. Well, here is the view from the side of the cabinet, and doesn't look great with the sea tunnel in the distance, but in the foreground we can see into our undersea base with our very grumpy man hard at work, and that is a great view. Really nice scene. So I very much like the use of the glass being a guillotine, chopping off this base, giving the impression that maybe it continues off into the distance. Maybe it's twice the size of the bit that we can see. And that's much the same as the technique I use in my city, of course, with all of my facades against the walls, giving the impression of a much larger built-up area. So yeah, I like that a great deal. Very good fun. Nice and interesting, and we're using all 3 sides of the cabinet. So for the person who encouraged me to do that, here is your bedoing. Well done. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That just looks absolutely amazing, doesn't it? From the helicopter and all the ships and the whale above the waves to beneath the waves. And our hidden lab and sea tunnel with our giant crab on one side and the seabed speedster. Very nice, but much more impressive, even than the circling sharks, is the huge undersea base. Wow, doesn't that look great? So busy, so much going on, so much to peer around. And that submarine at the top corner doesn't look really perched up high at all anymore. In fact, it's just kind of skimming the top of the base. Very close indeed. And I've put the shark cage back in, magnetised from above. So we're peering around that from different directions. I love all these hull pieces sticking into the water. They look really good. And I've added a couple of the old manta rays right on top of the base at different levels, swimming or almost flying by the looks of things majestically above the tops there. I think that looks really good against the turquoise backdrop. And I've blocked even more by adding this new section in, but you can still see all the detail by looking up, down and around. I like that. And I've put in the submarine being docked by the crane into Bay 1 for now. I might have it out and about. I've got that option now. We can still see the hammerhead there and a lot of the rock detail and the mer people and stuff like that all around that as well. So, wow, it is looking amazing. Still some gaps to fill, as I said earlier. It might be good to keep some open sand, but I will put in little plants and rocks and so on at the very least. And talking of little details, as I said I'd do earlier, I have added some bones to the scene with the giant eel just outside his cave from past meals. And hopefully these dolphins don't become the next meal. Really good. Wow. So, our enlarged base in, big plants in, skull rock in, the shark circling play feature in. Everything's in, really. I'm going to have to think of some new ideas for these spaces. And maybe we can now get on with the level below, which is based on the Silent Mary wreck, which you can just see sort of waiting there. And that's going to be absolutely caked with bright, colourful corals and, well, all sorts of different sea life. And then after that, we've got yet another level right at the bottom for some really mysterious, wacky stuff. But for now, I'm very happy with this level. I mean, there's so much going on. It's so bright and colourful. The light bouncing off all the different things. It just makes you want to examine it, check it out, see what's going on. And I think the potential for future scenes to add to this to make it even better is just huge. And now that we've got glass shelves, we can really just sort of peer down at things through the waves. And I just love scenes like that. And the opposite, of course, being able to look up at the cresting whale. Oh, wow. So is this the best thing I've ever done? I don't know. I mean, it's not really one build, is it? It's like millions of builds. So in that respect, it's not very fair, but I'm really enjoying it. And it's such a lovely thing to come into this room and see, quite frankly. It's a real feature. So it's going to be here for, well, for life now, I think. Now this biscuit's been firmly installed, it ain't going nowhere. Well, it has taken a long time and a lot of effort, but I think the product is very much worth it. I think about 20 videos have gone into making the rock work, the biscuit, the station, all of the submarine builds and so on. But when it all comes together and you visualize those plans, it is just very impressive indeed. So I'm ecstatic with the outcome, but do let me know if you can think of a way that I can easily improve it or add to it. Maybe there's something I've forgotten. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, I'll be doing a haul. And then I'll be doing something unknown on Friday if I get time before I spend a week on holiday with Mrs. Hood. So, yeah, until all of that and then a small break, See you! I'm so happy with that. Especially Skull Rock.